Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this Wednesday briefing, which is actually the last briefing for this week. Because Friday is Good Friday, we are going to take Friday off and come back to you on Monday. So let me start once again by just sharing my condolences to all the families and loved ones and neighbors who have lost their loved ones during the outbreak. We've had more here in the city of Calgary, and I know that the grief that people are feeling is indescribable. We're up to 17 of our friends, our family, our loved ones, our neighbors who aren't with us anymore. And I know I always say that this will not be the last update on those losses, but it never hurts any less. I also know that this week is a holy week for so many of our neighbors. And I know it is going to feel weird when the sun goes down tonight and families gather for that first Seder. And instead of having one empty chair at the table for Elijah, there will be way too many empty chairs. I know that it is challenging when we think about Easter this weekend for those who celebrate, thinking that we'll be celebrating it without our families necessarily with us. But I spent some time thinking about the stories behind those two observances. And I heard this morning Rabbi Glickman from Temple B'nai Tikva talk about this much more articulately than I could. But he reminded us that the story of Passover is a story of constriction and constraint to freedom. We know that this weekend, when we celebrate Easter, we're celebrating a story of rebirth, a story of new beginnings. And that freedom and those new beginnings are not far away for us. I don't know when they are. I wish I did. But ultimately, that's what we have to keep our eye on as we think through how we are approaching these family times together. So to our Jewish friends and neighbors, I say Chag Pesach Sameach. My Hebrew is about as good as my Arabic, which is to say not that good. But I want you to have a blessed Passover. And to those celebrating Easter, I want you to have a happy Easter. And I'm going to have a lot more to say about Easter weekend and how we manage that. But, even more than ever right now, we have to appreciate these moments of celebration. We have to appreciate these moments of festival. We have to appreciate these rituals that bring us back to who we are. Now, many of you will have heard the Premier's comments last night, and Tom will say much more about that. But I know that for many of us listening, those numbers were startling or unsettling, and they left a lot of us thinking, well, what does this really mean for us? What does it really mean for our community? I know that after I heard it last night, I thought, you know what I could really use? I could use a hug. Well, we don't have those. So what we really need to do is really to make sure, as I always say, that we're remembering that physical distancing never, never means social isolation. That we are in this as we are always in this together. And we will get through this as we always get through this together. So with that, we've got today Chief Tom Sampson, as always, the Chief of Calgary Emergency Management, who has a whole whack of things to talk about. We're joined by Sharon Howland from Waste and Recycling Services and Troy McLeod from Calgary Roads to have a lot of things for you to think about both today and as we get into the long weekend. So let me turn it over to Chief Sampson. Tom? Sorry, Tom, physical distancing. So I have to say one thing, which is I was very happy yesterday to see our very own Chief Sampson honored by the crew over at Dave Kelly Live with his very own bad portrait. I had to explain to him that it's a bad portrait on purpose, Tom. Mandy Stobo is a very, very talented artist, but she works hard to make the portraits bad portraits. But it is a real honor to be gifted one of those by Mandy Stobo, and it really means that you are doing stuff that people are noticing, that people are appreciating, and that is truly heroic. So today I want to say thank you to you, Tom, and congratulations on your bad portrait. All right, over to you.
Thanks, Your Worship, and I do appreciate the bad portrait, and I would just say this old body's been through the ringer a few times, and the portrait certainly reflected that, and I'm good with that. I'm proud of my wrinkles. Um, Your Worship and citizens of Calgary, obviously, I'd like to remind you that we're in a state of local emergency and that we will be renewing that state of local emergency this afternoon again for an additional 7 days. With the long weekend coming up, I want to remind you that you need to be practicing your physical distancing, and that means at all times. As I said earlier this week, we can't take our foot off the gas. I just need you to keep going. And I remember an old police sergeant teaching me to drive through traffic and how to do it as a younger paramedic. And he always used to say, just squeeze down on the gas pedal, just a gentle push, and just keep pushing while you accelerate. And that's what I need us to do as citizens. Push down that gas pedal. Don't push it down really hard. You'll skid. Push it down just the right amount. Premier Kennedy said some information last night, and I think that we can't back off. And if we do back off, the consequences are dire. And I can confirm that's correct. I know some of the numbers were frightening, they were sobering, but the numbers don't lie. However, having said that, this thing is in our hands. And so if you can take steps, to distance, to keep your hands clean, to do all these things, we can slow this virus down. And so let's prove everybody wrong. Let's have better numbers than people think we have. This virus must be taken very seriously, and every single one of us has to do that. So let me stop for a minute. I want to pretend like I'm talking to my children. Let me be your parents for a minute. You know what? You're young, you're healthy. You've probably never been more fit, and you probably never, you think you can take on the world. We see you out in the community, and we see you still hanging out with your friends and doing all the things in larger crowds than you should be. And so if you were my kids, and they're adults, if you were, and they are just that strong and vibrant, but if you're out there, you're putting yourself at risk, and it's not the time to do it. You have a whole life in front of you, and I know I'm sounding just like a parent. You've got a whole life in front of you, and you know what? We want you to enjoy every minute of it. And so please take care of yourself. Please tell your friends you'll join them on FaceTime. You'll do something else. Do it a different way. If you don't do it for yourself, do it for your future self. We'd really appreciate that. So for many of us, Easter is a great time to get together, but this year is different, and I know the mayor is going to speak to that. And he'll give you some very, very direct sort of statements in that regard. There's been a lot of discussion about the use of masks lately. The use of masks for physicians in the hospital, paramedics, firefighters, police officers who are responding to emergencies. But yesterday, there was the talk about this non-medical mask or face coverings, and that you could wear even if you have no symptoms. You can take those measures to protect others around you. They actually don't protect you that well, but they protect others around you by not allowing your cough to go out or sneeze to go out as far and project into others. So last night, the Premier Kennedy said that the masks are now strongly recommended in crowded places. And to me, that means in areas where you can't maintain your 2-meter distancing. So choosing to wear a face mask is an individual decision. We're recommending it if you do go into those tight areas where you can't maintain the distancing. But let's have a balance here. If I'm this far away from our wonderful interpreter, we're good. But if I had to get in tighter because I'm trying to do something else, maybe we both can wear a mask and we can protect each other just a little bit more. Covering your face does not mean that you don't need to practice all the other good measures. And I often feel, I went into Costco, it was 2 weekends ago, I think, and I felt like I was playing dodgeball, right? People would come at me and I kind of move over to the side, and then they'd come at me the other way and I'd move over the other side. And that's just good common sense. And, I've invited my staff this morning, challenge me. If I walk inside your bubble, challenge me and tell me, Tom, move back, right? So, yeah, the wearing of a face cover is a good idea when you're crowded. Washing your hands still exists. Sneezing into your elbow, or into a tissue, coughing into your elbow, those sorts of things all important, right? That's how we stop the spread. But let's be clear. If, again, talking to my young adult children, if you all put masks on and get together at a party, you still haven't fixed the problem. And so you need to do things differently. I feel like I'm lecturing, and maybe that's what I do sometimes as a parent. With that in mind and talking about personal protective equipment, I'm disappointed to hear the numerous reports that we're getting of people disposing of their protective masks and gloves by tossing them on the ground. You've chosen to wear them into the store or whatever public environment you've got in, but you're throwing them on the ground. And I'm sorry, just for a second, I'm sorry. I'm not sure what you're thinking. Leaving them there is just not the right thing to do. Please dispose of them in a garbage can, and let's not make somebody else come in and pick up your mess. I thank you. I won't say more. Um, if you come across them outdoors, maybe drop them into a public bin for us, but let's just give your hands a wipe after you do that. But speaking of waste, we have one of our experts here today to discuss some of the day's changes around green carts and extra bags. We're also seeing some suspension. Sorry, I'll get this right. One of the things that we have is on the non-city facilities where you can drop recycling and those sorts of things, we're having a bit of challenges. They're not getting picked up all the time. So if you drive your items to a non-city bin and you're going to leave some recycling or some clothes maybe for somebody else and they're already piled up, either move on or make the very difficult decision as to whether it needs to go into the city system and actually dispose. But let's invite Sharon Howland up to speak about these items and some other challenges we're having in the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So just to touch on the collection day changes, effective this week, households may have seen a change in their collection schedule. So our schedule changes were previously planned as a needed redesign of our collection routes to accommodate growth in the city. And it just happens to be that it landed during this COVID-19 pandemic. If you haven't already, visit calgary.ca/collection to make sure you know your schedule. Many households will have seen some scheduled day changes, and you can sign up for free reminders through that website, or you can download the Garbage Day app so you'll always have the right pickup day. This is a transition day for everyone. You might see some hiccups in collection routes, so please be patient, and if you are having trouble, contact 311. We have seen some additional impacts of COVID-19 on waste and recycling services. So these are unusual and unprecedented times that we're dealing with. We thank you for your patience as we work to maintain green, black, and blue cart collection. We're trying to keep waste services as normal as possible, recognizing that these aren't really normal times. As you can imagine, waste and recycling services, like other city services and businesses, are facing staffing challenges with the impact of the pandemic. Normally this time of year, you would see your green cart collection switch from the every other week winter schedule to the weekly summer schedule. But due to staffing challenges presented by COVID-19, we had to make the decision to remain on the every other week winter schedule. There's increased illness and reduced staff availability, which means we do not have the extra resources, trucks, and drivers at this time to make the switch to the weekly collection schedule. At the city, our #1 priority is public and employee safety. On March 24th, we temporarily suspended the collection of extra bags of garbage and extra bags of yard waste outside of your cart. We're not picking up these extra bags to keep your driver safe. It's to reduce their interaction with the public and with various surfaces. We realize that this may add some difficulty for some residents that have taken advantage of those opportunities in the past, but we just need to explore all of the safety protocols related to collecting extra bags before we resume that type of service. So we'll be updating you shortly on that. We also know that you're home a bit more right now, and you may have a little bit more time on your hands. So you might be doing some spring cleaning, and you could be discovering all sorts of old things that you'd like to get rid of. Many of the not-for-profit organizations and charities that you would usually take these items to are closed right now. Others don't have the staff or volunteers to take care of those donation bins that are located in the parking lots across the city. Please do not leave items outside of these bins right now. These charities will need these items after this crisis is over so that they're able to keep running their charitable causes. Don't throw away these valuable items yet. We're just asking you to hang on to them a bit longer. Make sure to keep sorting the right items into your blue, black, and green carts. If there are items that don't belong in the carts, like electronics, clothing, furniture, and small household goods, please just hang on to them for now. If you must leave your home to dispose or donate items, please call the location ahead of time to make sure they are open. City landfills are available Monday to Saturday. Please make sure to practice physical distancing when dealing with city staff and others. We're accepting credit and debit payments only, no cash. And we just want to stress, if you can please try to stay home as much as possible, clean up your home and property while you have the opportunity, but just hang on to items for a little bit longer. Thank you.
Thank you. We know citizens are looking to their local government and for reassurance and assistance during this period of COVID-19. And we're committed to removing the barriers to assisting business so they can continue to serve their customers. More companies are moving to pickup, and that's really working well. The City of Calgary and the Calgary Parking Authority are responding to it by making it easier to complete these transactions quickly, easily, and safely. I'd like to welcome Troy McLeod to come up and speak about the new relationship with Calgary Parking Authority.
Thank you, Chief Sampson. Pickup and delivery have increased in our city, and so in collaboration, the Calgary Parking Authority and City of Calgary want to make it easier and faster for you to do that. So all Park Plus zones will have a 30-minute grace period for you to be able to pick up and deliver the goods and services that are needed, as well as in all the permit parking areas across the city. So if you're caring for somebody and need to go into a permit parking area, you have a 30-minute grace period as well to access those communities. So the City of Calgary is looking for additional ways to support communities and businesses, and this is one of the ways that we are doing that going forward, starting on April 9th. Thank you. Chief Sampson.
Thanks, Troy, and we're very appreciative of the capacity. We were out for a run last night. We were able to use some of the free areas, so thank you. Appreciate that. I wanted to say again, thank you to the public. We know how difficult it can be to follow these rules in these times, especially if you have little ones. In advance of the Easter weekend, I want to remind you that the City of Calgary and our community partners have gotten together to launch a new online tool to keep Calgarians active and healthy while staying home. So calgary.ca at home. I also want to remind Calgarians that it's Good Friday, and you know what? I'll leave that one to the mayor. As he said, this will be our last media update before the weekend, and I trust that you'll have a good time, and hopefully you can have a connection with your family. Put them right up on your iPhone, put them at the table with you. That way you don't actually have to all get together, and you can keep everybody safe. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Well, thanks so much, Tom and Sharon and Troy. You know, through all of this, I've really been trying to live my life as much as I can in gratitude for what we have here. And today, I am so grateful for these wonderful public servants and the great work that they do. You've seen Troy up here before. You probably haven't seen Sharon up here before. She runs the bins. Your black bin, your green bin, your blue bin, that's Sharon. And thank you for doing all of that. And I will just underscore what we heard, which is I sent out a tweet the other night saying, looks like nobody on my street knows that our collection dates have changed. So Coral Springs, blue and green bins on Tuesdays and black bins on Wednesdays now. We just flipped the days. But that said, please do make sure you download the garbage app And look, it's a total garbage app, but I use it every week. So do that at calgary.ca. If you don't love apps, there's a very swish thing where you can put your address in and actually prints out a calendar to put on your fridge that shows what days your pickups are happening. So, and please, again, be careful and be thoughtful about that. It really comes down to what both Tom and Sharon were saying, people dropping litter of their personal protective equipment, people putting excess donations outside of bins or excess garbage near their bin. And Tom was more polite, I think, than I would be on this. He just said, "What are you thinking?" I would go further and say, number one, your mom doesn't work there. No, she is not going to come out and clean out behind you. And number two, your mom is old and she'll get sick if she does that. So quit it. And make sure that you're thinking about the people on the other end of all of this stuff. And Troy, thanks for that announcement today. Certainly, that's going to make life easier for people. One less thing to worry about is paying for parking when you're doing those quick drop-offs and pickups. For those of you who are still working and still using services like parking, we are asking you to continue to pay for those. It helps the city out, but also it's the right thing to do for the services that you use to show your appreciation for the folks providing those as well. So I wanted to talk about one other thing today, which is we're getting increasing reports about people feeling uncomfortable and in some cases unsafe while they use the Calgary transit system. And I just want to say that Troy and his colleagues at Calgary Transit are very well aware of this. Russell Davies, our director there, and Doug Morgan, the general manager of transportation. And they will be doing a number of things that you will start to see on the system really as recently as yesterday, but you'll really start to see those through and after the long weekend, which we hope will help. But I really want to make sure that if you are still seeing problems, you're really communicating with Calgary Transit by the call center, or even using Twitter. There's great people on Calgary Transit's Twitter on the other end of that who can really help understand the nature of what you're seeing and the best ways for us to accommodate that. And so we'll continue to do that. I do have a very important announcement to make. It was hard for me to do this. Chief Sampson really, really resisted. But we are making an order today. Oh, I should have said we're also renewing the state of a local emergency today. I forgot to mention that. But we are making an order today around essential services. And yes, it is true that we are declaring the Easter Bunny an essential service. So the Easter Bunny will be able to continue his or her, I've never quite been sure, work this weekend. Now, kids, I know you are concerned about someone else who comes to your house and whether she is a essential service or not. So I have to tell you, the jury is still out on the Tooth Fairy. The issue is that the Easter Bunny only has to work once a year. He can organize himself, he can get it all done. But the Tooth Fairy has to work every day. So I know she's been having trouble getting to some children's houses. She's still on the job and she will get to you, but she might not get to you on that day. So just be a little patient. She's awfully busy covering all of this. Now, a little more seriously, when it comes to Easter, I know, and to Passover, but to Easter in particular, I know that it is very difficult for many people to think about how do you do Good Friday without going to services? How do you do the Stations of the Cross? What do you do on Easter Sunday? How do you handle your family and having your family over at those times? You know, I get it. We're in my own faith tradition. We're in the middle of a week now where you go to services every day and do special prayers for the healing of the world, believe it or not. And we can't do it. We had one of our biggest religious festivals just right after we declared the state of local emergency, and it was the first time in my life that I wasn't able to go to services on that day. But ultimately, what we're doing is about ensuring that everyone in the community stays safe. I was talking to a friend yesterday who set up the Stations of the Cross in her home and in her yard and has an opportunity to take the family through and do that. So do stuff like that. Build new traditions. Reach out to the traditions you've got. I have to be clear about one thing, though. It is not a good idea to invite your family over for dinner this weekend. Even if everyone's been self-isolating, even if no one shows symptoms, you got to stay within what the Prime Minister of New Zealand calls your bubble. Your bubble are the people that you are self-isolating within your home. And your bubble shouldn't touch other people's bubbles. So as tough as it is to say that, really, you should not have people over this weekend. The other thing that I should mention on that front is you heard me on Monday say unless you're performing an essential service or you are doing volunteer work to help those who cannot get out, or you are outside getting some exercise, or you are outside maybe once a week, preferably with one member of your family if possible, doing your shopping for the week. If those 4 things don't apply, you need to stay home. You need to stay home and do that for the safety of everyone around you. You know, I know a lot of people going a little stir crazy. They're organizing socially distant meetings in the park with their friends and neighbors and things like that. I need to remind you that the 6 feet or the 2 meters physical distancing is if you must be out. It's not a magical amulet that makes you safe wherever you go. So you need to actually minimize being out at all, but ultimately doing so in a way that keeps every single one of us safe. Doesn't mean you can't enjoy Easter, right? You can have an Easter egg hunt. You can do a treasure hunt in your house, in your yard. I was warned by someone yesterday, if you tell people they're doing an Easter egg hunt in their house and they're using hard-boiled eggs, count the eggs before and after, because you're in isolation and you don't want to miss one. As you heard from Tom, calgary.ca/at-home. By the way, if you're using chocolate eggs, don't bother counting them because find them in 3 months. That's a treat. But you heard Tom talk about calgary.ca at home, some great resources for kids, for families, for everyone, from science experiments to arts and crafts projects and things to do while you're in the home. Now, I got to tell you, last weekend, some friends of mine put together a Zoom dinner on Sunday and said, everybody just grab your dinner and we will get together and do this. And I thought it was the lamest thing I'd ever heard. I spend my whole day on video conference. Why in the world would I want to see your people's faces in yet another video conference? It was fantastic. It was really one of the best things I've done. It was great to see everyone. I was embarrassed that I had by far the least interesting meal of everybody there, but it was so great. So if you want to do a video conference on House Party or Zoom or Facebook or Skype, whatever you like, for your Easter dinner, that's actually a real cool thing to do. And I would encourage you to continue to do that. The other thing I want to remind people is the need for us to be looking after one another. You heard me on Monday talk about a little project that Arlene Dickinson, local entrepreneur and philanthropist, wrote me into, which was to raise funds in a blitz for the Calgary Food Bank, what I call Mayor's Christmas Food Drive Part 2. Well, as of this morning, we'd raised, the community has given over $200,000 to the Calgary Food Bank in just 3 days. And that is extraordinary. And certainly we thank Arlene for that, but we also thank everyone else. If you're thinking about food security, there are lots of organizations really helping people who otherwise wouldn't have nutritious food. Whether it's Brown Bagging for Calgary's Kids, who no longer are supplying lunches to schools, but are doing a bunch of things to help people who are worried about where their food is coming from, or Meals on Wheels, working with our seniors and physically isolated people. This stuff really matters. I also want to remind you, for those of us who are lucky enough to still have work, those of us who are lucky enough to be not worried about putting food on the table, that it really is an opportunity for us to give to the community and perhaps give even more than we normally would. There is a COVID-19 Community Response Fund that was set up by the City of Calgary with our partners at the United Way. The idea there is if you give to that fund, then the partners will figure out the people who need the funds the most. Yesterday, I just heard about a little story that Alpha House, one of our organizations serving the most vulnerable people in the community, had suspended or lost one of their food sources. And immediately, Meals on Wheels and the United Way were able to come together to make sure that those people were fed. Those are the sorts of things that make a huge difference in our community every single day. And as we are building this new sense of community, this neighbors helping neighbors, we're going to be talking a lot more in the next little while about volunteering and how people can come together and look after one another. Just stay safe while you're doing it. And ultimately, as always, we get through this as we always get through it. We get through this together. So since you're not going to see my face for a few days, I will remind you of the following. Clean hands, clear heads, open hearts. Those are our instructions. Clean hands doesn't just mean wash your hands for 20 seconds and sing a song while you're doing it. It means take every possible action you can to prevent the spread of the virus. Do not act like someone who doesn't want to get the virus. Act like someone who already has it and doesn't want to spread it. Act like every single person who comes into contact with you is your 90-year-old grandmother, and you have to keep her safe. Clear heads. Make every single thing that you do a purposeful decision. Be really thoughtful about the actions you're taking and how they impact, excuse me, cover your cough, how they impact those numbers that the Premier told us about, how we can continue to keep more people safe and, thank God, fewer people dying. This will get worse. We are nowhere near the peak. But the power to change that is in our own hands. We all feel fear, we all feel anger, we all feel frustration, we all feel loss at this time. But we can't give in to them. We have to remain clear-headed in every decision we make. The most important, of course, is open hearts. And how we, every single one of us, every single day, need to be ensuring that every other one of us is okay. That's neighbors helping neighbors. That's what we do together in this community. So with that, let me remind you one more time before we go to questions that this is our generation's sacrifice. This is our time. Our grandparents, our great-grandparents were asked to make huge sacrifices to save the world. This is our time. And what we're being asked to do is very simple. Stay home whenever you can. Be kind to everyone. Together we'll save lives. So thank you with that, and let us go to questions. Operator, first question, please.
Our first question comes from Madeline Smith of the Calgary Herald. Your line is open.
Hey there. I have a couple questions once again. So I'm wondering if there is any update on the situation at the TELUS Convention Center. Do you know how many people are now being housed there and whether there's any overflow, where those people are going, if so?
Yes, thanks for that. The movement from the drop-in center into the Calgary Convention Center has been going very smoothly, as I understand it. I've been getting some operational reports on that. The maximum capacity of the drop-in center is 300 people who are 2 meters apart and very nicely spaced. They will reach that, if not today, tomorrow. I think they are up to just south of 200 people now, about 140 now, Tom? 140 last night, so 200 today, I think. And they will reach their 300 capacity before the end of the week.
Okay, and as well, when you're talking about the increased complaints on transit, can you be a bit more specific about sort of the volume of complaints compared to what sort of the normal baseline is, and what has been going on? Are there certain portions of the system that are seeing more complaints than others?
Yeah, I don't have any specific numbers for you today, Madeline. Do you have any, Troy? Troy's going to check if we have some real numbers for you, but I can tell you that it's not just about quantity, it's about the content and the nature of the complaints. Fundamentally, we're hearing from people that they don't feel safe on transit, and I hate hearing that because transit has to be safe and welcoming and convenient for everyone. That is our goal. And so that's really what I'm concerned about. We have taken some actions. I can be a little more specific than I was earlier on those actions. Certain stations will still be able to be used, but the actual station building itself, transit calls them station heads, will be closed in the evening. That's already started after 6 p.m. If memory serves, those stations are Stampede, Victoria Park, Stampede Earlton, Heritage, Southland, and Anderson stations, all on the red line. They're being monitored now, and if we're still seeing social disorder and disruptive behavior, then we will close those station heads 24 hours a day. For now, they're closed in the evening through until the early morning. There will be stepped up enforcement on fares, particularly for trains leaving the downtown core, for making sure everybody who gets on does, in fact, have a paid fare. And there will be other things that I'm not really at liberty to talk about around increased security and enforcement. And hopefully we will see those having an impact right away. All right, next question, please.
Can I?
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Madeline. You can ask a follow-up.
Oh. Just, are there reasons for why these issues are cropping up and people aren't feeling safe? Is it just that there's nowhere for people to go during the day and they end up kind of hanging out around transit? Like what is going on to your knowledge?
There are a couple of things going on. Number one is, bluntly, there are fewer people, and folks always feel safer when there are more people around. And of course, transit ridership on the trains is down 80%. So, there's just less people around. And as such, then if you see some social disorder, there's nothing between you and that social disorder. There aren't a bunch of people there as well. So you'll feel a little more unsafe. That's just human nature. Very understandable. And the other is, as you said, there are fewer options for people now with libraries and fast food restaurants and so on being closed. And particularly with the poor weather we've had, trains are warm and comfortable. And so, sorry, just Troy just has some numbers for you. What is it?
About 27% increase over last year in social disorder.
Thank you. So there's been about a 27% increase since last year in social disorder complaints over this time. But also the nature and style of those complaints is a bit more disturbing. So these are things we need to work on. All right, thanks. Let's go to the next question, please, operator.
Our next question comes from Kevin Nimick of CTV Calgary. Your line is open.
Hi, Mayor. As you probably know, tomorrow it's going to be around 8 degrees, maybe even 9 degrees.
15. I'm going for 15.
Really? Okay, well, are you considering closing off any big city parks or pathways? Are you considering making further restrictions to where people can go in light of the expectation that folks might be gathering in larger groups together?
Thanks very much for that question, Kevin. We are, in fact, going into, I think, our 7th fake spring over the next day, and then I think it gets cold again. This is a bit much even for Calgary, I got to say. No, I think people have been very responsible. In the areas where we have seen challenges with crowding on the pathways, we really have seen Troy's team opening up some lanes, doing a really great job, and people, I got to say that the feedback on that has been 100% good. So we just are asking people to be responsible. This is not a time to take the whole family out for a picnic in Bowness Park, for example, right? It really is about ensuring that get out, get fresh air, get exercise. That is not canceled. That is not closed. We haven't had to take that step, but it does require people to be responsible. So no playgrounds, no skate parks. Don't drive to a crowded parking lot to go walk. Yes, Nose Hill Park is gigantic, so maybe that one's okay. But be careful in off-leash parks. Don't pet other people's dogs. Don't let other people pet your dog, which is very, I know, unnatural behavior in a dog park. But if you can continue to maintain these physical distancing, then we can keep things open. But ultimately, the best advice is get your fresh air close to home. Explore your neighborhood, explore the sidewalks and streets of your neighborhood, explore the parks in your neighborhood. And that way we can make sure we keep everyone safe. Did you want to add to that, Tom?
Just before we walked in today, there was a question about whether off-leash areas that are unfenced should remain open.
You want to take it?
Just before we walked in today, there was a question about whether the off-leash areas that are unfenced should remain as off-leash areas. That's being reviewed by our parks group, and they'll make a determination in the next day or so as to whether or not we continue in that regard. So I just didn't want to. I felt badly I didn't brief the mayor on that, so I didn't want to leave it open for you.
Thank you. Again, ultimately, it's up to people's behavior. If people are behaving well and not putting themselves at risk, then we won't have to put in further restrictions. Next question, please.
Our next question comes from Madeline Smith of Calgary Herald. Your line is open.
I feel like I've heard from you already.
Hi, I'm back. Sorry, I do still just have a couple more questions. Are you aware of anyone staying in a shelter or an overflow shelter who has tested positive for COVID-19? Is this information that the city is getting?
We are not aware of anyone in a shelter who has tested positive. I will tell you that there is another isolation shelter that has been set up for vulnerable and homeless people who are symptomatic. And I did hear this morning that there is one individual who is symptomatic, not necessarily positive, who has been relocated to that shelter. Is that up-to-date information, Tom? Do you have anything else? Okay.
And on a completely different note, is there any update on the Green Line decision that was supposed to come later this month? Is it being postponed?
You know, Madeline, you got to have something to write about every day of the week. So I will bunt on that question and tell you that you'll probably hear something about that tomorrow, if not Monday.
All right.
Thank you. Are there any other questions, operator?
Our next question comes from Scott Dipple of CBC Calgary. Your line is open.
Thank you.
Hi, I understand the City of Edmonton in relation to the issue with the litter outside of stores, masks and gloves. They're distributing cleanup kits. Is Calgary considering moving that far? Is it still personal responsibility and the responsibility of the property owner?
Right now, yes, we're really focused on people taking personal responsibility. The thing about this crisis that is different, perhaps, than other emergencies we've had is this really is about human beings taking responsibility. It's about each of us working hard not to spread the crisis. You know, we can't control the rain, we can't control the floods. I'm probably not supposed to say that word in the middle of a state of local emergency, but we can't control that, but we can control the spread of the disease. And that's what we got to be careful about. And I want people to think about that for a second. You're wearing the gloves in order to stay safe, but the outside of the gloves have touched everything. So they actually are contaminated. And you're throwing them in the ground for someone else to pick up something that's contaminated. Totally invalidates what you were doing in wearing the gloves. Put them in your pocket and throw them away at home. And don't require the property owners cleaners, you know, who are folks who have families, who have kids at home, who can't work from home, and have to go to work every day and are scared for their own safety. Don't put them in more danger. It's a ridiculous thing to do. Follow up, Scott?
Yes, so one quick follow-up, and that is, I understand there are still some community ice rinks that are open, and I know 15 degrees tomorrow is one thing, but...
Yeah, that problem will solve itself relatively quickly.
Should they be open, though, or are they supposed to be closed?
Do you know the answer to that one? Have we made a ruling on ice rinks? Indoor.
Maybe it's something that we missed somehow. They technically should be closed.
So Tom says, if you didn't hear that we did close all arenas, indoor arenas, and you know, ice rinks should also be closed. If we didn't make that specific in our order, that was our bad. But they really ought to be closed. That said, that's probably an irrelevant question after tomorrow. However, I will say that a lot of folks use those for ball hockey or even basketball in the summer. And remember, we have closed all such facilities to organized sports, to team sports, not necessarily organized. We don't want people playing pickup basketball with their neighbors either. There's just too much contact. So you can go ride your bike around if you're a kid and you want to try out a two-wheeler. That's a good place to do that. But again, social distancing, don't touch anything.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, operator?
There are no other questions on the line at this time.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for this. Really have a blessed and a safe and a happy long weekend. Let's create some new traditions together. Remember, clean hands, clear heads, open hearts, stay home, be safe, be kind, and together we'll save lives. Thank you all.